All right, Soc250 students, this is Tom Berry. I'm your instructor for the class. You already know that by now, but the goal for today, this week one video is to give you a little bit of a background about sociology, about myself, and then about popular culture as well. So welcome to the class. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on myself. I have a kind of interesting academic background. I went to community college for a year, went off to university, and didn't know what I was going to do. Started taking some classes in speech communication. Became an area I was really interested in, just sort of the interpersonal side of communication, all the way to looking at rhetoric and sort of major political kind of speech stuff. So that was, an interest of mine, and that when I was getting ready to graduate with my bachelor's degree, I had a friend who was a grad student who taught Spanish, and I was like, man, that seems like that would be a really interesting profession to be able to teach. I think I could do that and do that well. I think I'll pursue that. So after graduating with my bachelor's degree, I went and pursued a master's in speech communication, graduated with a master's in speech from Cal State Fullerton, and then my wife and I moved around a little bit. We ended up going back to the Midwest where I earned a master's in social work. All this time I'm teaching part-time, different institutions with the ultimate goal of getting a full-time job, teaching job somewhere. So I went back and got a master's in social work just to get different skills, different experience, and have a different career, just a waiting time for a full-time teaching job. I worked at a community mental health center for a few years. It was a fascinating job, occupation. I felt really privileged to be working with, just people who are experiencing all kinds of challenges in their own life and trying to provide a valuable resource for them. Eventually, I was able to get a full-time teaching job, teaching half speech and half social work at a community college in southwestern Kansas. And after a few years working there, I had an opportunity to teach a sociology class. I had one sociology class as an undergraduate, and the class had about 250 students in it. I wasn't the best student at that time, and 250 students in a class was not going to be a recipe for success for me. Ended up passing the class with a C. I think I gleaned some information from the class, was mildly interested. But what really got me interested is when I took this opportunity to teach a speech or a social class at the school I was at, and I just fell in love with the discipline right away. Went back home, and my wife and I talked and said, I want to go back to school one more time. This is what I want to do. I want to get a PhD in sociology because this is what I want to teach. Fascinated by this subject. So while teaching full-time, went back to school, I was able to get my PhD, and we moved to Central Oregon back in 2004, where I took a full-time job here. So I feel very fortunate, very blessed to have the support to be able to make all that happen, and then just to find something that really drives me and interests me in terms of topic and subject area. And so hopefully I'll bring some of that enthusiasm and interest to this class for sure. One of my areas of focus, one of the things that I was interested in all the way through my PhD program, was this focus on culture. Sociology is a very diverse discipline, as with a lot of disciplines are, right? I mean, you look at a lot of different areas, there's so many different sort of ways that you can go within an academic area. Sociology is just like that. I mean, there's so many different things that you can pursue. You can go into political sociology, criminology, think about deviance, think about structure, all the way from the structural level, the macro level, all the way down to the micro level, focus on institutions, and then focus on culture is just another one. Gender, race, class, sexual identity, gender identity, just so many different things to explore, so many things to different understand, because humans are complicated, right? We're complicated, and there's a lot of things that are going on in society with trying to understand what's going on in order to make society work more effectively for more people. And ultimately, that's the goal of education, the goal of within academia, and the goal within sociology for sure, is one of social change as an important part. So the readings for this week, I'm kind of break it down. You got two different things. One is kind of three different, one article is addressing the three theoretical perspectives in sociology. If you've had such before, great. If you haven't, that's fine too. Either way, read that article. It's a great summary of the three sociological perspectives. I think you'll find it valuable, informative, and beneficial. I've been using that article in class for, 10 plus years. I've read it, dozens of times. And there's always something to learn, kind of perspective to gain. They give you a good grounding in sort of what the three sociological perspectives are. And it's really important to kind of have a general understanding of what those three theories are, because we'll be using them throughout the course of the term. Theories are a way of thinking. So one way when you're reading that article, it's just thinking about, we're just talking about three different ways of understanding, three different ways of approaching, trying to understand the social world and humans, right? So we have the micro level perspective, the interactionist perspective, then macro level functionalism and conflict theory. Three different umbrellas of social theory. Some of them kind of intersect. The interactionism kind of intersects with conflict theory. We call it critical constructionism. But there are really three kind of distinct umbrellas, different ways of thinking, different ways of approaching. Sometimes the goal is to be able to, I think always the goal is like, how do we see that issue or that particular thing through all three umbrellas, or all three theoretical viewpoints? So how do we looking at sports and society, how do we see it from a functionalist viewpoint, conflict theory viewpoint, interactionist viewpoint? What are the things we're going to think about? What are the questions we need to ask? And how do we sort of develop a more sophisticated, more critical way of sort of thinking about the world that we live in? So those three theories are powerful. They're great. There's a video I put out there under the week one folder. That's a video from YouTube somewhere. Just somebody talking about the three theories. I encourage you to watch that as well. And if you have any questions about theories, let me know, and I'll provide a little bit more of an overview next week as well on the three theories and its application to pop culture. Okay, then the second article is about basically about popular culture. What is culture? What is popular culture? How do we sort of understand these terms? It's an article by Dinesi, where he kind of just does a lot of definition stuff, and then he talks about sort of historical changes to culture itself. When you're reading that article, pay attention to the definitions, like how things are being defined, how culture is being defined, how popular culture is being defined, the distinctions between things like high culture, low culture, popular culture, why that kind of distinction doesn't make sense, or what some of that history and background of that is. That would be helpful. So that article, think about like just general definition. What is culture? What is popular culture? And then what are been some of the major things that have gone on in terms of early development of a popular culture, and then sort of how it's shifted and changed across time. So part of what Dinesi does in that article is provide this sort of historical kind of long-term perspective. One thing to sort of think about as well is the power of technology to change culture. So one watershed time period for the development of popular culture was the 1950s, post-World War II, movement towards mass consumerism, youth culture. Really, there was never a youth culture before the 1950s. And we could spend, really do a whole class, a whole semester, a whole term, talking about sort of the post-World War II consumerism culture. It's a major watershed time period with economic development, consumer development, movement of people to suburbia. There's a lot of things that are transformative about that particular time period. And I think it's just really fascinating thing to think about is the ways in which culture's changing. When music's coming out for youth culture in ways that was never there before. We have TV programming. TV's starting to come into people's homes. And you go from basically people didn't have TVs to 10 years later in the 1950s, 90% of homes, households had a television in it. With TV and with the ideas, now comes images into people's homes. Images, ideas, programming, advertising, commercials. So the human experience is going to transform, it's going to be changed in a transformative way with the development of new technologies and things that are going on in that particular time period. And then to use that as an example, think about what it might have been like to be someone who's 14 years old growing up before a time period where there's all these ideas that were coming from the outside that were, nothing was coming under radio. If you didn't have radio, you didn't have TV. Basically, the community that you lived in, these were the ideas that you got about understanding yourself, understanding others, understanding the world around us. It all came largely from people around in your own community. Well, fast forward in 1950s post-World War II, you get a lot of things start to come into the household: images, ideas, sound. You did the development of a youth culture. So now all of a sudden, what it's like to be a 14, 15-year-old person during this particular time period, significantly different, and that's because of expressions of culture, right? Pop culture is shifting and developing, and so it has an impact on all the way from, you got to understand the macro level, what's going on that's driving that, and then all the way down to the micro level, how is that shaping the human experience, the ways in which people think and what they do and what they know. So anyway, just kind of an interesting sort of thing to look at when you're reading that article. Think about that historical development and change, and think about the role of technology itself. Think about, YouTube, right? I mean, it's amazing to think about. I think it was 2007, if I'm right, that YouTube was first launched. 12, for right now, this is 2019, 12 years ago. I mean, think about the ways in which these new technologies that really started to come out the last 15 years have changed culture. In some ways, maybe you could say, I mean, is it for the better or for the worse? I think you can get into a lot of debate and discussion about some of those different aspects. But it's changed things for sure, right? There's more that we have to contend with. So one of the challenges that we have to contend with today with like social media is the influence of social media on politics, on elections. Think about the ways in which we get and share information today. We're living in a more politically fragmented society, and part of that has to do with like the ways in which we can live. We can maybe sometimes live in echo chambers with individuals who think like we do, and not be challenged by sort of a discourse or ideas that are coming from a different perspective. So, culture's dynamic. It's always moving. It's always changing. It's fascinating to sort of look at and understand. And my goal in this class is to encourage us to think about culture in new ways, and ultimately to become more critical about culture. And not critical in a bad way, but critical becoming more aware. So ultimately, we become more self-empowered for how to engage in culture itself. Okay, so that's a lot. Just want to provide a little bit of background. And the thing I want you to sort of identify in your paper this week is the first part, sort of that overview of the lecture part, is to identify kind of what are the ways in which you engage in popular culture? Like, what are your practices? What do you do? As far as, do you watch a lot of TV, movies? And then, so what's your experience in terms of engaging in what you identify as popular culture? And number two is, what do you think about the value of popular culture? What does popular culture do for us? And then what are some of its challenges? What are some of the things that creates challenges or tensions or problems for us? So that's at the first start of your review for the week. The papers is before you get into that first reading review, just a short little thing at the top there, 150 words of just identifying, what is your experience in popular culture? What do you think it's positive things that are doing for us, and what are some of the challenges with popular culture as well, just to kind of get us started. All right, welcome to the class. Hope you're having a great week. And if you have any questions, let me know. Take care.